Well, good afternoon, guys, on this August 30th, and today I'm going to try and hike the Gala Trail. It's the highest point on Oahu. It's just over 4,000 feet up. Somewhere up there. I'm trying to head, but I can make no promises I'll actually make it. Let's just jump right into this. Now, the reason I can make no promises of actually reaching the top is because it's a very, very tough trail. I'm doing it by myself. It's got a ton of ropes you gotta use to scramble up the really steep ridges, and it's going to be a bit rainy today. And it's normally always raining up there, so it's almost certainly going to be raining, and it might be just not good conditions to go. But if I make it, there should be some really cool plants up there. I'm really excited to show you guys. Right here, but it seems they're trying to plant and restore some really cool species as well. That seems like it's a Sida fallax. Can't remember the native Hawaiian name, but it's a good indigenous plant in the coastal areas. It's cultivating some Scaevola taccada. Beach Naupaka, as it's commonly called. Probably the most dominant plant in the coastal areas, but a very important one nonetheless. This to me looks like it's most likely Vitex rotundifolia, a member of the mint family that produces these really cool purple flowers. We've got a couple other ones they're trying to cultivate here, which I'm going to touch on when I get back, but it is the trail lies ahead, and I really gotta get going. It really seems like they're trying to do some dryland restoration here, because see that plant that's most likely planted is a Gossypium tomentosum. It's commonly called ma'o in the Hawaiian language. It's a native Hawaiian cotton. It's a really big, I think, Dodonaea viscosa. It's called like ilimc or something. I can't remember. I wish I could remember more of the Hawaiian names. But I mean, I don't really care too much for common names, but I really try to know the ones with the Hawaiian plants. You can see some more planted back behind there, alongside the Leuceana leucocephala, which is of course very invasive, as I've talked about before. This is some Vitex rotundifolia and the Leuceana indica back behind as well, both indigenous plants to the islands. So that's always good to see, because the dryland forests are really very heavily degraded here compared to the rainforests, which are already in a pretty bad state as it is. So you can only imagine how almost non-existent native dryland forest is these days in the islands. I am at 1,100 feet up already. And I think I covered about 3/4 of a mile, which is not so bad. That's about like a fifth of the trail, but this is definitely the easiest part, or one of them. And it's already starting to rain. We are getting a few new plants already. We got the Grevillea robusta, which is unfortunately also invasive, and a non-native plant from Australia, but I'm sure soon we'll be getting some actual native species. Just walking backwards right now so I don't actually get rain on my camera. But it's starting to stop now. Alright, I am onto the real trail now, instead of that paved road. So it's this, I forgot what it's called, the Urochloa grass, the California grass, which is a nasty invasive, but we do have what appears to be a lot of koa trees, or it could just be an introduced species of acacia. It's hard to tell. If it is koa, Acacia koa, that's really good though. I gotta catch my breath. Of course, Acacia koa has phyllodes instead of leaves, like almost all species of acacia. So they have leaf stems that they've had modified or evolved to have flattened into the shape of a leaf that they use to photosynthesize instead of the typical pinnately or bipinnately compound leaves of the family Fabaceae. It's very neat. I gotta carry on. That mess is what I'm hiking into today. Only 1,600 feet up. This is gonna be a really rough one for trying to film and keep my camera dry. Really hope it calms down a bit. Okay, I had to put in my camera for a bit because it's getting a little too rainy. Well, as soon as I did it, it's already getting a little bit better. But I still can't really tell what a lot of the species are, though I can say that much of the trees around here are strawberry guava, or Psidium catalyanum. It's a species from Brazil. It does make a nice edible guava fruit, but it's just not as good as real guava. And it's super invasive out here. So it's just a big problem. It'd be a lower elevation rainforest in Hawaii. Well, we have developed a biocontrol. Sorry, if you guys think I'm just repeating too much stuff here and see all my other videos, I'm sorry, but most of my viewers are return viewers. Sorry, we're not return viewers. Return viewers are the exception, so I try to repeat a lot of information sometimes just so that people can be exposed to the same information I'm telling everyone. and it helps me, repeating information and sort of narratives kind of helps me practice making better videos, I think, as well. So hopefully this clip is actually usable. I don't know how to get my camera out quite yet. Anyways, here we can see we're now in a solid forest of just pure strawberry guava, or Psidium catalianum, which is a pretty bad invasive species in the islands. It is Nephalia myrtaceae, which has a few natives here, but that doesn't really mean much because there are quite a few invasive ones from that family as well, such as the eucalyptus, but this is definitely the worst, I believe. It does make a nice edible fruit. These are like phlebodium ferns, which could be native. I'm not sure. But either way, yeah, it's just such a big problem species here, but it just crowds out almost all the plants. We finally introduced some biocontrol here that can actually take care of it pretty well. Yeah, my lens is clear. So yeah, that's hopefully going to be spreading and keeping it under control in the future and giving other plants a chance to compete against it. Well, that really opened up a bit. Interesting. Okay. I think that's about 1,700 feet, which is still quite a ways from the top, but I'm getting there slowly. Oh, there you go. Look, this is the galls from the insect control. So what it does basically is it infects the leaves and it forces the plant to produce these galls, which saps energy that I could use to be doing other things like growing taller, making new leaves and shoots. And instead it makes these galls that then feed the insect. So it just spreads and it really saps a ton of energy from the plant and can cause some pretty serious defoliation over time, which allows other species to get a foothold and compete against them. So that's really good to see, and it seems like maybe they've been knocked back pretty hard here. It seems that they're all super short here as well. Shooting more of the native ferns. I'm going to carry on. Another introduced plant that's definitely worth talking about here is this plant we see in the understory. Sort of almost like a palm, but to me it doesn't look like a palm, but some of you guys it might. This is cordyline fruticosa, commonly called tea. Not the tea that you drink, it's spelled T-I, this one. And it's a really important plant for people of Polynesian cultural pedigree, I guess, all throughout the Pacific. I could have phrased that better, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. Originally from, I think, Southeast Asia, it's been spread all throughout the islands of the Pacific, and it's not super invasive, so I don't mind it too much. In fact, I don't really think it's invasive at all. Still not super aggressive. That's quite a lot of it. It is pretty looking as well, but not native, but many people seem to think it is. Okay, so this is right at the transition zone between the invasive strawberry guava and native forest dominated by Ohia, Koa, and this the Uluhe, and I called it Uluhi in my last video. Now, that wasn't a mistaken pronunciation of Hawaiian. I just forgot what it was called and thought it was Uluhi instead of Uluhe. But either way, it's a good native fern. The scientific name is Dicronopterus linearis. Produces these really thick thickets of, just decaying plant matter that really nourishes the soil here. They help colonize barren slopes, which are quite common in Hawaii actually because of all the landslides. You're gonna see here. Hopefully, this phone footage is not too bad. I just can't use my camera right now. It's too rainy. Wish it was waterproof, but it's not. There's also the Cladema or Myconia hirta, commonly called Coster's curse, which is an invasive, but that's sort of what you kind of expect here. And thankfully, the Uluhe fern seems to beat it out, so it only really grows on the margins of the trails around here. So that's a positive at least, but it's still pretty bad in other parts of the island. Okay, I had to put away my camera for a bit because it's getting way too rainy, but funny enough, as I finally get to this ridge at 2,800 feet, it's pretty much stopped. See here now we're in a forest that is much more native dominated, but I think there's still a bit of, well, that's not the strawberry guava. I thought that was for a second. This is actually the Ohia, so it's most likely Metrosideros polymorpha. It's a little hard to see, but you might be able to see the beautiful red flowers there. If I turn up the ISO just a bit. Ah well. We do got some of the Grevillea robusta again, however, growing in front of us with its, again, very cool, typical Australian plant kind of leaves, but it is very invasive, unfortunately. And some more of a koa. This one definitely has to be koa at this point. I noticed compared to ones I saw on the lowland, those Acacia species, their leaves didn't seem to be quite as curved, not quite as sickle shaped, so it could have been a different non-native species, but I mean, maybe also the Acacia koa. I'm not sure what separates them, but okay, this is definitely a native one right here. Well, the frickin' Costa's curse is really thick here, unfortunately. Now you gotta keep heading up. Now it's important to know about the Hawaiian rainforest that they have a high number of endemic species. Though in a sense, we aren't technically diverse because like an area the size of the Hawaiian Islands within the Amazon rainforest would likely have a lot more native plant species, while the Hawaiian Islands only have about 1,000, which may sound like a lot, but it's really not all that much compared to most rainforest habitats, especially when you consider that the Hawaiian Islands are not all rainforests. They have a ton of dry forests, shrublands, they have a huge array of habitats in between. But just the size of them and their isolation has led to them having not quite as many species, but all the ones they do have have almost completely endemic. About 90% of the native plant species in the Hawaiian Islands are found nowhere else on Earth. And it really has to do with just how isolated the islands are. They're considered the most isolated island chain in the entire world. I think the nearest continental land is North America, about 2,500 miles away. Well, funny enough, most of the native plants here come from Southeast Asia, and really more of the old world sort of area, as well as, other Pacific islands, which can be a little bit closer than the North American continent is. Either way, as a result of this isolation, there's a bit of a gap in the niches that are here whenever a new plant arrives, and it gives them the opportunity to evolve into an array of different organisms that can fill all those niches. So there's some really strange gaps in the flora here, like there's no native fig species, despite figs being ubiquitous throughout the rainforest of the world. The family Melastomataceae is not naturally represented, aside from these invasives like Myconia and Costa's curse, which you have in front of us. A few others are really uncommon or not represented, but meanwhile the bellflower family, Campanulaceae, has a huge diversity in the Hawaiian Islands. It's the most species-rich plant family here. Fabids, for instance, not super well represented, though members of Rubiaceae are, members of Rutaceae are, and you even got some really weird ones like members of the family Amaranthaceae, which is typically associated with the super dry, harsh, disturbed habitats, have evolved to be several endemic rainforest genera here, like Carpentiera and Nototrichum, which hopefully you might be able to see at the top. We shall see. I can make no promises. But right now I just gotta put my camera away for a second. Get a load of these views. Have you ever seen a view as nice as this before? I bet you haven't. No, but seriously, if I was able to make the clouds go away, you would see a very nice view of both the north shore of the island and the Waianae side. But you don't get that luxury right now, unfortunately. We do get the luxury of enjoying some native plants here, though. It's almost now entirely dominated by what must be natives. It's like the Metrosideros polymorpha in front of us. There is another species of Metrosideros native to the Waianae Mountains, Metrosideros macropus, I believe. It's got the koa again. Now for real, actually, we do have some pretty good views. Some other plants here. Let's see what fern this is, because it looks like, I'm not sure. Let's make this one in front. I thought for a second it might be the Diploteregia, which is an endemic species, but it seems more like it's maybe a Sadleria, potentially. I can't promise it, but that's actually an endemic genus of ferns. I remember the family Blecknaceae, and are actually some of the few ferns outside of the Scaevola order, or Scaevola order, I should say, that attains a form of a tree fern. Not quite sure what this plant is. It's got whorls of 3 in its leaves, and these orange berries. So I'll try and figure that out later. This is where the tough's really going to start, though. I think I'm probably about 3,400 feet up, to the next 400 or 600 feet are going to be really quite tough. I just, Christ, drop my lens cap while I'm at it. It's really beautiful out here. I just wish I was able to study the plants more. Or not so much I was able to, but I actually did do that because I definitely had a lot of time. It's never a cool plant, but I'm hoping is native. Clearly a species of sedge. Got a triangular stem. And it just, I mean, come on, it looks like a sedge. If you know what a sedge is, that's what it is, but I just couldn't tell what species it is for sure. But he's pretty nice too. You might be able to see it just for the fog. That's where the going starts though. Okay, that was really tough and very nerve-wracking holding my camera, so I'm definitely gonna have to put it away when I decide to head down, but we are now almost at the very top, and I sadly don't really know what a lot of the plants are here, but I got a few of them for you. Firstly, this guy. It's a little hard to see because it looks like it's blending with the liver plants, but that thing right in front of me with the small leaves is Stiphelia taimaya. I can't remember what the common name is, but it's not technically an endemic plant to the Hawaiian Islands. It's also found in the Marquesas and maybe some other South Pacific islands, but it's a native member of the family Acacia, which actually does have a few native representatives in Hawaii in addition to that. Some that are endemic as well. Good genus. I mean, good family. That was a really tough climb, I'm not going to lie, but I think I'm finally past all the ropes now and almost to the very top flat bog. I still got a little more. Oh crap, it's raining on my camera. Okay, I tried to avoid the mud, but eventually it had to happen that I slept in it. Oh well, I'll clean my shoes off tonight. Either way, some other cool plants here. That thing, the long, sharp-looking leaves, is Racenetia arborea. I can't remember what the Hawaiian name is, but it's a very common plant throughout the rainforests of both Hawaii and the South Pacific in general. And this sedge thing right in front of it has very similar leaves to it. It's, I believe, a species of something called Macarina or Macarina. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I'm sorry. This isn't even the most informative video. You guys are really gonna have to trust the all the little title and name cards for the plants I put up. But it's another indigenous plant. I think there's actually 2 species in that genus. One of its endemic subspecies to the Hawaiian Islands. The head there, that thing, I hope you can see something like that closer on the trail because I believe that may be a species of chirodendron. It's a little hard to tell from here, but it does seem to have compound leaves. We also have this plant, which I don't know either. And some tree ferns. This one likely, I'm going to guess, is Cibodium menziesii. Or it could maybe be something like chemisoite. I mean, the fact that it's really hairy makes me want to say menziesii. You know, I might be actually putting this into a second video once I get to the very top, but now I'll try and keep it all consistent. And of course, the dominant tree around here is still Ohia. There we go. I think that is a species of chirodendron. That's not an endemic genus to the Hawaiian Islands, but it's almost completely endemic. All species are endemic to the Hawaiian Islands except for one, which is found in the South Pacific. There are a few genera in the Hawaiian Islands like that. And I might be able to find some others and show you them here. And there you go, see, it's a member of the family Urochloa. I really have to test the ISO a lot here. Member of the family Urochloa. You can see it's got some umbel-looking inflorescence there, which is very interesting. And it has palmately compound leaves, or like trifoliate leaves. Actually, I have some reference materials I made for this hike, actually. I never hiked on Oahu, but I just can't access it right now because it is way too wet on my phone to open it up regularly. I didn't bring a towel very foolishly up here. I mean, I foolishly didn't bring a towel, whatever. I'm probably going to end this clip right now and just make a separate one for the plants up top, but I'm pretty much at the bog now, which isn't technically a true bog. It's a more of a, just a really, really wet, kind of swampy-ish forest, which I know kind of sounds like what a bog is, but it's really not. It's the ungulate exclusion fence. Ever important and common feature of the forest in Hawaii. To keep pigs out from doing all our destruction here. There we go. Okay, thanks for watching and welcome to part 2.